Hi, welcome once again to SBR.TV. I'm Peter Loshak. It's week 4 in the NFL. SBR moderator Justin Seven and I had an exhilarating conversation yesterday about week 5 in college football, where he introduced his college football stat model that became relevant last week. But it's still 1 week early to take a look at his model for the NFL. But Justin is here with us again. And I also have some comments on games that I'm interested in from LT Profits, SBR's LT Profits, which I'm happy to have. So Justin, thanks for being here once again with us. And no NFL model yet, right? You're still using the same early season approaches you were using before in the NFL?
Yes, but it's a terrifying time because you're right at the cusp where you can almost use statistics, but you still can't.
Yeah, because it's easy to think that you know more than you really do at this point in the year, right?
Yes.
Right, but you're going to have a stat model for NFL next week, right?
That's correct.
But that's not as good of a model as college football?
Oh, it's a great model. It's just that the NFL markets are so much more difficult to beat that you'll find less of an edge, even with a very good model.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that next week. Let's get into the week 4 games and see if you have anything to say about them. And I'll also let everyone know what LT has to say about all those games. The first game that I want to talk about is Jacksonville at Tennessee. Tennessee is 0-3, but they're a 3-point road favorite, which is a bit of a suspicious line. Jacksonville was able to run all over Houston last week, but Houston has a terrible run D, of course. Tennessee is giving up only 60.7 yards a game, which is second in the NFL. But you're saying that after only 3 games, a stat like that is not really that significant, is it?
There's 2 problems you have when you only have 3 games. First, you only have 3 points of seeing a team. Second, you don't know how difficult that team's schedule is. So when you get the 4th game, it's actually you're getting 2 different increases in accuracy.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, I'm looking at this Tennessee team. Their personnel is largely the same as it was in 2008 when they were 13-3. I'm leaning towards betting them, but I'm not sure about that. Here's what LT Profits had to say. He says, Tennessee is in desperation mode, but I still don't think they deserve to be road favorites here. Yes, they're allowing 60.7 rushing yards per game, but that's only because teams are passing more against them and torching their secondary with Haynesworth no longer there to rush the passer. That said, the Jags defense is no great shakes either, especially against the run. I think the play here is over 41.5 or so. All right, so LT Profits likes over 41.5 or so. I'm kind of liking Tennessee, but we'll see. I'm not sure if I'm going to bet it. Then there's a couple other games I want to mention, both involving big underdogs. One I'm liking more than the other. First, let's start with KC as an 8.5-point home dog to the Giants. And the Giants are on their 3rd straight road game, and they're having a bunch of injuries on both sides of the line. KC, of course, is pretty bad, but they're also healthy. I asked you to look at this game. Do you have any thoughts on it? I mean, like a healthy team getting 8.5 points at home against a banged-up team, even if they're great like the Giants. Yeah, the Chiefs suck, but, they're still an NFL team. Do you think they have value here?
I used to love betting large dogs. I would bet any dog of 7.5 or more in the NFL, and that used to be a winning strategy 5 years ago and earlier. But the markets have gotten a lot tighter, and if you see an 8.5-point favorite, odds are that team is really 8.5 points better. So I have no opinion on this game, even though there's a large spread.
All right, well, I'm kind of leaning towards the Chiefs plus 8.5, but that's a very small lean. LT Profits actually has a pretty interesting opinion on it. Here's what he said. This is from LT. He goes, even a man short, the Giants' offensive line should manhandle the weak KC 3-man front. And yeah, it was only the Bucs, but it's still amazing for any NFL team to hold another to double digits in total yards like the G-Men did last week. I would put more stock in the 3 straight road games if the last 2 were versus real NFL teams. Giants big. That's from LT Profits. He says, Giants big. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, and then the next game that I like, which also involves a big dog, but I like a lot more, is St. Louis as a 9.5-point road dog at San Francisco. And I'm also liking the under 37.5 as well. The Giants have no Frank Gore running back for this one. His replacement is a rookie. But even if there's no drop down there, I still like the Rams. The Giants are a gritty and winning team, but they play a very conservative, ball-controlled style that just isn't that conducive to double-digit wins against anyone. So, I'm liking the Giants. The Rams are also going to be starting a new quarterback, Kyle Baller, and I like that. It gives them like a little shake-up, and they'll probably be trying to pull out a win by playing the same kind of style as the Rams, as the Giants, to keep it close. I'm thinking this game might be a bit like the Rams' 9-7 loss to Washington, low scoring and close. So I'm liking St. Louis plus 9.5 and the under 37.5. What do you think?
Well, are you going to parlay those?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, what do you think? Should I, if I like both sides, what do you think? Is there extra value from correlation that offsets the extra juice that you pay on the parlay? I mean, aren't you giving up a lot of juice on a parlay that sort of demands a high degree of correlation when you're betting a parlay like this?
It depends on where you play it. You can get some books have 2.8 to 1 parlays, Or if you're betting 2.6 to 1, I mean that's just a little worse than, a little worse than 110. So it's not that big of a deal.
All right, maybe I will. So you recommend a parlay if I like both sides, huh?
I would recommend parlaying it. I'd also say buy the Rams up to 10.5 if you can get it for 20 extra cents. So take the Rams plus 10.5 minus 130 if a book will let you do that.
Okay, well, LT Profits agrees with me on this one. He says, I agree that the Rams are live here. No Gore and the Niners are coming off of a heartbreaking loss in the final seconds. Plus, they're not accustomed to being favored by this much, so there's no way of knowing if they could handle it. So that's from LT Profits. Good to hear. And then finally, I want to ask you briefly about two of the most talked about games this week, Buffalo, Miami, and Dallas at Denver. The key to Miami game, of course, is the injury to quarterback Chad Pennington. You have anything to say about that?
On the Miami game, when you have a quarterback injury, especially in the first week, you often see a line move too far as a result. What would you make this line if Pennington were playing?
That's an interesting one. I guess I would put Miami at maybe a 2.5 point favorite, something like that.
Okay, so maybe this line should, if the fair line in this game would be 2.5 with Pennington, I'd say, pick would probably be the fair line with a scrub quarterback.
Okay, and then the Denver and Dallas game, everyone's talking about that. Strong opinions on both sides. What do you think there?
Well, you look at the Sagarin ratings, and the Sagarin ratings suffer from a statistical problem you have several problems. They have, right now, the Sagarin ratings have Denver as the #1 team in the NFL. And the Sagarin ratings use a lot of similar methodologies to Joe Square. That is, what's the team's record and how many points did they score? And just looking at that, without looking at anything else, Denver does look like a good team, but look beneath the surface, and I think Dallas is the better team.
Okay, interesting. I think we're good. I think that's it for Week 4. Thanks once again for being here, and I'm definitely looking forward to next week to see what your model has to say about Week 5.
All right, thanks, Peter.
All right, that's it. My favorite play of the week is St. Louis plus 9.5, and I might parlay that with the under 37.5, which I also like, but a bit less. LT Profits agrees with it, which is nice to hear. Thanks, LT, again for sending me your notes on all these games, and Week 5 should be good next week. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then. For SBR.TV, I'm Peter Loshak.